So welcome to the Deal Finders Corner, so your weekly property talk show brought to you by Property Filter, hosted by myself, Guillaume Black, and not Guillaume. Guillaume Black, your favorite Frenchman, CEO and co-founder at Property Filter, is the UK's highest rated platform to find deals. And we are on a mission to empower our property investor and deal sourcer members to find 1,000 deals this year, every year, thanks to the Property Filter blueprint. And the purpose really with those Deal Finders Corner is to give you more and the best of the available resources, inviting guest experts who will share with you the latest, the more current strategies, tactics, and secrets about what actually works right now in terms of making deals, doing deals, finding these deals, and the reality of systemizing and running a high-performance business in property. So it's really my pleasure today to introduce Barry White. So you've got Mr. Black and Mr. White. On today Deals Finder Corner, he will share eye-opening exploration on lease options and how it is the most flexible yet massively underutilized investment strategy available today. So Barry and Janet, they've got a ton of experience. Barry is a property investor, accredited property educator, mentor, lease option specialist trainer, international speaker, NLP master practitioner, and social psychologist. So when you hear me talk about putting the cameras on, you know that Barry is looking at your posture and what it really means, so be mindful. He is the author of an Amazon #1 bestseller book, which I actually is quite good. So the psychology of property negotiation. So very niche into what we do. In 2009, on Christmas Eve, he received the news that he had stage 4 cancer whilst he was running a small hotel in Wales with his wife, Janet. And as you can imagine, this changed their lives. But despite the fear, they decided to invest in property and leave, the 35 years experience they had in hospitality, in the hospitality industry. And so through the help of training and mentoring, they achieved their financial goal and financial freedom, as it were, and they are now helping others do the same. They've been training and mentoring for various organizations for the last 11 years, I believe, different training companies. They've trained over 15,000 people, I'm told, and personally mentored 500 property investors through their company, Barry White Training. So what you can expect from today's episode? So all about lease options. So discover the compelling reasons behind why lease options can be a game changer in property investment, unlocking a world of flexibility and opportunity, especially in the current market. Explore the innovative aspects of lease options that make them accessible regardless of your current situation or financial situation, if you are a depositor or not. And then we'll look at uncovering the transformative power of this lease option. How you can get, the luxury of time, capitalizing your property appreciation without owning the property in the first place and minimizing a lot of the risk because you don't need to own the property. And then we'll try to find the time to some great Q&A with Barry. I'm really much looking forward to hearing more about Barry's talk today. Please give a massive Property Filter virtual welcome to Mr. Barry White. Thank you very much. Over to you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you very much, Guillaume. You've told them all about me now, so that's going to save me about an hour. So thanks very much for that. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's great to see you. Thanks for sharing your lunchtime with us. And I hope over the next sort of 45 minutes or so that you're going to get something out of the presentation. Whenever I'm teaching lease options, the first thing I will always say is, if you've spent any money on training, right, you've wasted your money. Yeah. Because for the next 45 minutes, I want you not to think like a property investor. Because if you think like a property investor, when you are doing lease options, you will struggle to get the deal over the line. Because a lease option has got to be a win-win for everybody. Yeah, for you, them, and obviously the solicitor's going to win, etc., etc., etc. So please bear with me, because one of the biggest issues that people have is, well, what happens if? What happens if this? What happens if that? We'll talk about that as we go through the presentation. I'm going to share my screen now. If I'm a co-host anyway, Guillaume, so I should be able to share the screen, shouldn't I? Okay, so Presentation, I'm going to go through it. As Gwilym said, if you have got any questions, just pop them in the box. We'll see how much time we get at the end, and if we've got time, we can answer some. So basically, lease options. Why lease options? It is my favorite strategy. Why? Primarily, I think because I'm a Yorkshireman, yeah, and I don't like spending money. Secondly, it was the thing that I fell in love with very, very early on as I was going through my property training, or my wife and I was going through our property training, because we stumbled across one very, very early on. And I'll be totally honest, yeah, we blagged it. We blagged it and still got it over the line. And I thought, wow, that is incredible. So without further ado, let's go through the presentation. If you can interact, I'm more than happy to see you interact, and I'd love to see you interacting. Investing in property, there are problems and there are challenges. It doesn't matter whether the market is good, bad, indifferent. There are going to be challenges all along the way, and you're going to have problems all along the way. Yeah. Now, that doesn't matter whether you have just started in property or whether you've done lease options before. Just as a straw poll, if you can put in the chat box there, how many people are property investors? Give me a yes if you're a property investor already. If you've got property, yes, yes, yes. Brilliant. Excellent. I love to see that people are interacting. That's absolutely great. Okay. Has anyone done a lease option before? If you've done a lease option, put a number 1 in the box for me, in the chat box. Wow. We've got some seasoned lease option investors. Fantastic. Okay. Brilliant. Thank you very much for that. Really appreciate that. So, in terms of the problems and challenges, can you just write for me what your problems are and challenges at the moment investing in the market as it stands at the moment? What are your challenges? What are you coming across every day that think, oh no, apart from BT cutting you your internet connection, motivated sellers, no money, fees, finance, funding, good solicitor, cost of funding, lack of funds, prices. Yeah, bit of a common theme, finding them, not sure what strategy to take. Right, funds, lenders are difficult. Yes, absolutely. Persuading investors to invest in good deals that I find. Yeah, okay. Right, that's absolutely brilliant. And I'll be totally honest, it is exactly what I expected, because everybody says that. Predominantly money, yeah. Then we've got the lenders issue. We've got people that can't get mortgages, etc., etc., etc. So let's just go through a few of the ones that I put on the screen on the next slide. Yeah. So these are the problems. High property prices. Yeah. Big problem at the moment. Yes, they are coming down a little bit, as you'll see a little bit later, but we've got high property prices. Investing doesn't work in London. This is something that I hear quite a lot. It depends on your strategy. No income. There are people out there that haven't actually got a job or any source of income. So from a lending point of view, the lenders don't really like lending to you. No deposits. And by funding, I take it that you have no deposits. You haven't got enough seed capital to purchase properties. Bad credit file. No permanent job. Uncertain market conditions, high interest rates, limited availability, and no built-in. That's another big thing, no built-in. Okay, so does everybody agree, yeah, that all of those things that I've just put up on that slide, if you just put a Y in the box, does everybody agree they are predominantly the biggest problems and challenges that we face at the moment? You just put a Y in the box for me. Fantastic. It's not me having a fantasy or delusion. Okay. For every single one of those properties, ladies and gentlemen, we have a solution. Yeah. And we have a game-changing solution that is lease options. Now, let me tell you, every single deal that I go into, every single property that I walk into, every single property or deal that I talk to any of my students or my mentees about, yeah, we always look at them first and foremost as though they are a lease option until this person that is making the decision as to whether to sell it to us or not, yeah, says yes or no. And they will tell us. And the thing about lease options, people say, well, how do you find lease options, right? You find lease options with your ears, not with your eyes. Although I did have a photograph in my slide set where we went to have a look at a commercial property a couple of weeks ago, myself and one of my mentees. And it actually said lease option available on the outside of the building. First time I've ever seen that. But lease option genuinely is a game changer. Absolute game changer. Why? Because it doesn't matter what the price of the property is today, because you're not going to buy it today. You're going to buy it in 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, 13 years. It really doesn't matter what it is today, because I will tell you here and now that property prices will go up and up and up and up. Yes, they always go up and down, but always in an upward direction. And I've got a slide that will show you that a little bit later. Investing doesn't work in London. I will say that there are as many, if not more, people that are struggling with their mortgageable properties or their mortgage properties in London as they are anywhere else in the country. Yeah. So it does work in London. No income. With a lease option, until you get to the point where you exercise the option, which is when you actually buy the property, you don't need to prove your income to anyone. Yeah, so it doesn't matter whether you've got an income or not. It really doesn't matter, because no lender is going to say, hang on, let me just have a look at how much income. Let me have a look at your pay slips. Let me have a look at your SA 302s. Let me have a look at your tax overviews. They don't need it. They won't need it with a lease option. No deposits. If you haven't got a deposit, fine, you are not putting a deposit. Yes, you have to put something down, yeah, but that can be as little as £1. Bad credit file, again, they're not going to check your credit file at the point that you actually take over control of the property, which is when the lease option contract is signed, which is one of the reasons why quite often we will make lease option terms, so the length of the time that you've got the option for, we make that term more than 6 years, because 6 years, if you've got a bad credit file, 6 years is how long it takes you to get any adverse credit reference off your credit file. So quite often we'll use that as a way of persuading the potential seller to say, we need 7 years, we need 6 years. No permanent job. Again, it doesn't matter because nobody's checking it. Uncertain market conditions. It absolutely does not matter what's happening in the market. And the reason it doesn't, because you are only controlling it when you buy it today, or when you get control of it today, or next week, or next month, when you find your option. It doesn't matter what is going to happen, because sooner or later, it could be in 2 years, it could be in 5 years, it could be in 10 years. Yeah. That property will come back to you, because it always does. And by come back to you, I mean, will increase in price, will increase in value, will capital appreciate. And if you don't believe me, depending on how old you are, yeah, ask either your parents what they paid for the first house and try and find the address and find out what it's worth now. Yeah. Or just think about when if you're a little bit older, what did you pay for your first house? I paid £12,500 for my first house in 1980. 12,500 in 1980. That house now is worth £180,000. Yeah. Property prices have gone up since we started recording property prices back in 1926. Between 1926 and 2016, property has gone up by 47,000%. Yeah, staggering statistic. Apply that to a pack of butter, it means that we're paying £26 for a pack of Lurpak. Although we're not far off that now, are we? But it doesn't matter what the market conditions are. High interest rates. Generally, it's not your interest. Yeah, it's the owner's interest that you're paying because you're using their mortgage. And even if the interest rate goes up and you have to pay a little bit more, bear in mind that you have not had to put 25% of the value of that property down as a deposit, plus the stamp duty, etc., etc., etc. So if we have to pay a little bit more for the interest, who cares? Because we are absolutely thousands or tens of thousands better off at that stage because we've not had to put a deposit in it. Limited availability. Now, here's my favorite one. Everyone says they're difficult to find. They are not, right? And I'll show you how they're not and why they're not in a little while. No build team. Why did I put no build team in? The thing about buying property, refurbishing it, renting it out, one of the biggest challenges that we have here, and my best friend is a builder, my son's a builder, my son-in-law's a builder, yeah, is the fact that prices are going up, labour's going up, they're difficult to find, they're notoriously, some of them are notoriously unreliable. And since Brexit, there's an awful lot of Eastern European builders that used to do a really, really good job here in this country, have gone back to Eastern Europe and have not come back because they were scared of Brexit. Yeah, so we've lost a massive amount of workforce in the building business. Yeah, so if you haven't got a build team with a lease option, think about this. What would happen, yeah, if instead of you decided to do the traditional buy, refurb, rent out, that you put it on a lease option and you were doing lease options on properties that didn't need any work doing to them? I'll say that again. Yeah, put a lease option on properties that don't need any work doing to them. Yeah, you might have to put fire alarms in. You might have to put smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, etc. But you're not having to do a massive refurb. Yeah, so lease options will work for you in that respect as well. Does everybody understand what I've just said there? Just give me a yes in the box if you're following me. Yeah. Fantastic. Okay. So it doesn't matter what's happening in the market. It doesn't matter what's happening in terms of your finances. It really, really, really doesn't matter. You will be able to get a lease option over the line, providing you find the right motivated seller. Okay. So what can you use a lease option for? You can use a lease option for buy-to-lets. You can use a lease option for negative equity properties, and it's probably one of the biggest sources of lease options that we can possibly find. Negative equity properties. HMOs, commercial property, mixed-use property, title splits, assisted sales, hotel purchases, option swaps. You can even buy your own property or get control of your own primary residence, your own home, on a lease option. I know because I've done it. Yeah. So you can use it for anything. Let me just clarify something. There are some people that say lease options is a strategy. Lease options is not a strategy. Lease option is a control and purchase technique. Okay. So, who are we? Who's Barry White Training? You've probably never heard of us, although Lars is on, so Lars heard of us. I noticed. Hello, Lars. Not spoke to you for a while. We're Barry and Jeanette, right? We are a couple. We've been together for 37 years. We did some property training way back in 2010 as a result of my boss not being particularly sympathetic about the fact that I'd had stage 4 cancer. And the rest, as they say, is history. I'll be totally honest, I think we were very lucky because we worked hard, but we had a couple of good things that went our way, one of which you will see in a little while. We were very lucky. We were so lucky that the company that we worked for, who were at the time the largest operator or largest property investment training company in the world, they asked us to go back and start working for them. We used to do testimonials for them. Then they asked us to go back training. Then they asked us to go back mentoring for them. And as Gwilym mentioned earlier, we've probably trained over 15,000 people. We've mentored one-to-one over 500 people, not just in lease options, but in every strategy, because as property investors, which is what we are, we do every strategy. We do HMOs, we do hotels, we do serviced accommodation, etc., etc., etc. Commercial to resi, we do all of that. So we're property investors. We're property trainers, mentors, and coaches. I'm a social psychologist, right? Which means that I study how people think and how they react to certain situations. Really, really good if you want to negotiate with someone. Yeah, really good. I'm also a master NLP practitioner. What do master NLP practitioners do? Pretty the same as, much the same as a psychologist, really. It's about rewiring people's brain or getting them to think in a different way. So why is that important, and why is that very, very useful when I'm pitching a lease option or I'm teaching lease options? It's because it's about getting the other side, or getting the owner of the property, to understand what it is that you want to do, and you understanding exactly what they need to do for you to get the deal over the line. Yeah. And that's not about manipulation. Yeah. Because quite often people say, oh yeah, but you're manipulating them. To an extent, maybe yes, but some people, for their own good, sometimes need manipulating. Yeah. And quite often I've been in lease option pitch discussions where they've said, but I don't want to do that. And I said, but the alternative is that you are in court tomorrow, literally tomorrow, to have your property repossessed. Yeah. And this is a way we can stop it now. Yeah. So sometimes people need a little bit of an explanation as to what the circumstances and what the consequences are of saying no. And that's when that comes in very, very, quite regularly, actually. The other thing is during COVID, because we're all sat in our homes thinking, twiddling our thumbs, wondering what we're going to do, binge watching TV, I decided to write a book called The Psychology of Property Negotiation, because I love how people think. I love going into a situation and thinking to myself, what is this person thinking about me? I need to build rapport. I need to match and mirror them. I need to get them to know, like, and trust me, because it's a good thing to do if you're going to say to someone, I know you want £150,000 for your property, but how about I'll give you £1 now, and I will pay you the other £149,999 in 7 years' time. Yeah. You need to be able to pitch that in the right way so that they don't show you the door, or even worse, smack you on the end of the nose. Yeah. And I'll be totally honest, touch wood, I've never been smacked on the end of the nose yet, but never say never. Yeah. But that is why it is really useful. And that is particularly one of the things that we do when we teach lease options. So there we are. There's me there's me in teaching various people one-to-one, and even in Stockholm with the infamous Shimon Rudich. And as Gwilym said, that both Jeanette and I are accredited property investors, property trainers as well, educators. Yeah. So we've worked with the likes of Robert Kiyosaki, Martin Roberts, and Robbie Fowler. And we're quite proud of that, even though that they've all gone away. And there's the book, Amazon #1 bestseller. Quite proud of that. That was really good. Don't get too overawed though. You would be surprised how few books it needs to actually get an Amazon #1 bestseller. That's another thing that I teach people to do. So don't worry about that. Yeah. Right. Lease option myths, because there are many, and I'm going to bust a few. Yeah. First of all, you can buy a house for £1. Ladies and gentlemen, you cannot buy a house for £1. In 2 cases, a few years ago, both Stoke and Liverpool councils ran out of money to refurbish their social housing properties, and effectively their council properties, and they sold a small number of properties for £1 because it was actually cheaper to do that than it was for them to refurbish them up to HHSRS standards. Yeah, so that they sold them to a landlord, and they did the refurbishment and then rented them back to the council. They are the only 2 cases. Generally, you cannot buy a house for £1, but you can control a house for as little as £1. And £1 is the minimum fee that you can legally transact a property transaction in this country. Okay, so you can't buy a house for £1. That myth's busted. They're complicated. I don't think so, but I wouldn't, because I teach lease options. I've done lease options. They are actually quite simple when you know how to do them. So that's busted. They are opportunistic, and this was the biggest frustration for me when I was training, that people said, oh yeah, but you have to be really, really lucky if you do a lease option. No, it's all about asking the right questions and letting the person that's selling the property tell you what circumstances they have got that means that it would be better for them to do a lease option than it would an outright sale. Once you know that, the myth's busted. They're difficult to find. No, I didn't think they were difficult to find. I thought they're quite easy to find. Up until about 18 months ago, when I came across Gwilym and Property Filter, and now they're 10 a penny to find. With Property Filter, you can find loads of them, and I'll show you an example of that a little bit later on. So thank you, Gwilym. You have made my job very, very, very easy. Thank you very much. They're illegal? No, they're not. It's quite interesting that I have heard conveyancing solicitors say to their clients, you can't do this, it is illegal. Yeah. If a solicitor says that they're illegal, what they're really saying is, I don't actually know how to do this. Yeah, just buy it in the normal way and then I'll get my fee. If they were illegal, yeah, I wouldn't be sat here now. Shimon wouldn't be a fully regulated solicitor, and there's be an awful lot of people living in one of King Charles III's houses of multiple occupation. They are legal, and they've been around for many, many years in this country. Maybe not residentially, but they have been around for many, many years. It's exactly the way that house builders like Persimmon, Barrett, Taylor Wimpey, all of those sort of people, they do lease options on the land before they actually get planning permission for the property. Yeah, that lease options, that's where it came from. And some people think you can only do them on commercial property. Absolutely not. They're actually easy on commercial property, I admit, because generally the commercial estate agents know what a lease option is, whereas a normal residential agent don't. But you can do them on commercial and residential property. Not a problem at all. Are you all still with me, guys? Have I lost anyone? Just give me a yes if you're still with me. You're still awake. Yeah, I've not bored you to death, bored you to sleep, whatever. Brilliant. Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much for that. Okay, so we have a proven system. Yeah. Now, this is a slide directly from my lease option training course. And I tell people that we've got a proprietary framework that if you use it, you can easily identify your ideal prospective property with a few simple clicks of a button. Yeah, we don't have to do leaflets anymore. The old-fashioned way of doing it has gone. We don't have to do Facebook marketing anymore and get people really being nasty and giving us really horrible comments. We don't have to have any agonizing estate agent conversations. We don't have to troll through Rightmove and then go to another site, then go to another site, then go to another site, then go to another site. Because Gwilym, thank you very much again, Gwilym, right, has done it all for us because he's put all of this information in one place. And I had a conversation with Gwilym yesterday, actually, and obviously he's got access to his overall dashboard. And he was telling me that there's 18,000 properties in the UK for sale and to rent at the same time. So people have put residential properties on to sell and to rent, or to rent. It really is unbelievable. It really is. So with Property Filter, it really does make your job of finding lease options much easier. It really, really does. It is, I don't know, it's like something's come down from the gods when I saw Property Filter. And I don't mean that. I would say that even if Gwilym wasn't on here and it wasn't Gwilym's system. So it really does work. So what I wanted to show you is a little bit about my area where I live. Yeah, I invest all over the UK, but South Yorkshire particularly. This morning, when I had got access to the internet, I just did a couple of very, very quick searches of South Yorkshire. Yeah, so for sale and rent at the moment in South Yorkshire, there are 59 properties for sale and to rent. Yeah, South Yorkshire, Sheffield, Rotherham, Barnsley, Doncaster. Yeah, 59 for sale and to rent. On the other hand, if you go into Property Filter and click properties in negative equity, yeah, and Property Filter, if you don't know, you may know, you may not, but compares what the property was originally purchased for and what it's for sale for now, yeah, and obviously if it's for sale for less than what they purchased it, generally it's likely to be negative equity or thereabouts, yeah. And this morning, as of about 10 o'clock this morning, there was about 259 properties in South Yorkshire in negative equity. Yeah. So that's a lot of people to contact and say, hey, do you want to sell your house? Let's have a chat. So that really is the side of it. I mean, Property Filter revolutionized how we find lease options. Okay, so what is a lease option? It's the right to lease or rent a property with an option, but not the obligation to buy it at some time in the future. It is the right to lease or rent a property with an option, but not the obligation to buy it at some time in the future. Yeah. Word of caution, please don't walk into a property and say, would you like to do a lease option on this? Yeah. You have to be a little bit more subtle than that. So if you still haven't got it, does anybody know what that is? Anybody want to tell me in the chat box what that is? What is it showing? It's a lease car. Yeah. It's an auto lease. it's a PCP basically, a car lease. Yeah. So how car leases work? Yeah. You've got a deposit that you put in right at the very beginning. You agree a term that you're going to pay the monthly payments, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. And at the end, you can do one or two things. You can either give it back, or you can pay the balance of the outstanding money that's left on the car, the loan that's left on the car. That is exactly the same as a lease option. Yeah. So the deposit, it might be £1, it might be more. Yeah. You agree a term of 5 years, 7 years, whatever. And the monthly payments normally are the actual mortgage itself, because you're paying the owner's mortgage. And at the end of the term, you then have a choice. Do you want to buy it in the normal way, so by private treaty? Then yes, you have to get your funds, you have to get credit file, a conveyancing solicitor, etc., etc., etc. Or do you want to give it them back? Say, no, actually, I don't want to. Yeah, I have never given anyone anything back yet. So you have to look at lease options with a great deal of integrity, guys. Yeah, because it really is about that win-win. Please don't try and rip people off, because it doesn't work like that. You can make more money by being nice to people than you can be nasty, because someone will trip you up. Yeah, but that's how it is. Please look at this with the utmost integrity. So exactly the same for a house. Option fee, monthly payments, which, as I said, are usually the mortgage, and the purchase, or sometimes you'll hear it called the strike price. That is what you're paying for it at the end of the term, whatever the term is. Okay, well, why lease options now? The economic and market turmoil means that forecasters are predicting a recession. High inflation, we've got that. Interest rates and a drop in property values and prices. That is actually happening now. Yeah, these slides were done probably, or this particular slide, I did put together about 8-10 months ago. Yeah, that's happening now. No two ways about it. And as I said earlier, what about the mortgage interest rates? Because that's the biggest thing. People say, well, what if the mortgage interest rate goes up? If I'm paying the mortgage, what happens if the mortgage interest rate goes up? Then you are paying the increase in the interest rate. But what you haven't had to do is to pay tens of thousands as a 25% loan to value deposit on the property. So it's going to save you tens of thousands of pounds, right, for one of them, maybe, if you can get it over the line. Yeah, I would much rather pay £1 to control the property now for 7 years than pay a 25% deposit on a property now. Anybody else? Is there anybody in the chat box that can say that they would rather pay the 25% loan to value deposit? They're all saying no. Right. Good answer. Oh, somebody would. Somebody's saying yes. Depends. Okay. Some people are saying yes. Some people are saying depends. Some people are saying no. I would love to have a chat to you one day, and I would want to know why you are saying yes, you'd rather pay the deposit, or you would rather, or what does it depend on? Okay, so let's have a look. So this doesn't mean it's a bad time. Doesn't this mean it's a bad time to invest in property? No, there is never a bad time to invest in property, guys. Never a bad time to invest in property. Especially if you know how lease options work. It's actually quite a good time, because that's what happens to the property market. I mean, that shows you the average house prices, how they've increased. And as I said, house prices go up and down in upward direction. Yeah, that started in Q2 of 1967. Yeah. That's just what house prices do. Yeah. So if you can lock in the price of the property now, why wouldn't you, yeah, do that and buy it in 5 years' time, 7 years' time, 10 years' time? That's even bear in mind that there's 4 recessions in there. Yeah. 1980, 1990, 2008, and 2020 when we had COVID. Yeah. And they've still gone up and down in an upward direction. We talk about the mortgage interest rates. Quite interesting that when we bought our first property, yeah, 12 years ago, 13 years ago, something like that, our first investment property, the mortgage rate was 5.4% then. The numbers still worked, yeah, mortgage rate was 5.4%. And quite interesting that house rentals have gone up massively since then. Absolutely massively, as you will see in a little while. House prices, what's happened to them? They started to fall in June 2023. Will there be a massive drop? I don't think so. Yeah, primarily because of the size of the UK. There is so much demand at the moment. I don't think there'll be a drop. What will cause them to drop, I believe, is that there are going to be a lot of people that are potentially going to lose their properties because they can't afford their mortgage. Yeah, they're going to possibly be in negative equity. They're going to be in mortgage arrears. Yeah, and more stock will come on the market. The more stock there is on the market, the more the prices will fall. Yeah, but I don't think that we'll have a plummet like we did 2007, 2008. I could be wrong. I don't know, but I kind of guess that that won't happen. And there's a scary thing, yeah? Supply and demand on rental properties, yeah? So we need 42% supply, the demand is 56 in the Northeast. In the UK in general, yeah, have a look where you are on there. Yeah, in the UK in general, supply we're minus 28%, and the rental demand is plus 57%. That's actually a scary slide, is that? It really is. And that's based on the 5-year average. So what are we looking for in terms of properties that are potentially going to be lease options? Yeah. 2 things. People that are in mortgage arrears, yeah, people that are in risk of negative equity, and a whole host of other things. They're getting divorced, they're changing the job, they're going to live in a different country, they're not well, they're in debt, a myriad of different things. But you can see there, I mean, the startling one for me on there was the one on the left where the Moneyfacts reported the Bank of England only a couple of weeks ago, saying that the number of households behind on their mortgage payments has jumped to its highest level since 2016. And the outstanding mortgage arrears is totaling almost £17 billion at the moment. That's mortgage arrears. Yeah. And interesting, yeah, that only equates, yeah, that's just the second quarter of the year. So, wow, we need to be thinking now. I've got a stop and repossessions company as well. Surprise, surprise. But we are seeing repossessions go through the roof. Our business in terms of repossessions is through the roof. And we are not taking, please don't think that we're taking advantage of people because they're going to get the house taken off them anyway. If we stop someone getting repossessed because we're taking over the property, yeah, we will make sure that we rehouse them, yeah, as part of what we do. But that is what's happening. It's the thin end of the wedge, and this is going to happen for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. because people, when they increase the size of their mortgages, because they increased the size of their properties during COVID, yeah, they took out fixed 2, 3, 5-year terms. They're not going to come to an end until 2024, 5, 6. Yeah. So it's going to get worse before it gets better. And just think about that. If someone was to say to me, what is one of the biggest things about doing lease options is your ability to negotiate. You have to be able to negotiate with the person that is selling the property, not with estate agents, yeah, the person that's selling the property. Now, the ability to negotiate, and this doesn't matter whether or not you're doing a lease option or not, yeah, the ability to negotiate and understand the seller's situation will allow you to take control of the property for as little as £1 if you are solving their problems. This is the biggie. People's ability to negotiate is the single biggest reason that so many property investors do not get their offers accepted. The ability to negotiate or not is the single biggest reason so many property investors do not get their offers accepted. Because you go in with a flip chart or whatever, a damp meter, and you try and think of all these different things that you can use against the owner to bring down the price of the property. No, because they are going to be the person that makes the decision whether or not they're going to sell you the property. So you need to be able to negotiate. You need to know how to deal and to communicate with people. Right. I'm conscious that we're running out of time a little bit, so I'm going to fast forward through an awful lot of these. So this was our third ever property when we started investing in property, and it was our first lease option. It was described as a 15-bed disused bed and breakfast, and it was in South Wales. Purchase price was 145. The deposit, because it was a commercial property, was £58,000, was 40% loan to value. Yeah. The problem is we hadn't got £58,000. In fact, I don't think at that stage that we got £580. That's how bad it was for us. But we agreed the lease option at £1. And basically the circumstances surrounding it was the fact that the guy that owned it was being bullied by his bank manager, commercial bank manager, because he was not paying his rent or not paying his mortgage. Not just on this property, but several others, we found out consequently. And over 3 or 4 months, we tried to get the money. We did all sorts of things, delaying tactics. But one day I eventually said, I'm sorry, we can't buy it in the normal way. How about we rent it from you and buy it at some time in the future? He said, no. I said, why don't you speak to your bank manager? He said, no. I said, I will speak to your bank manager. He gave me the phone. I picked it up, spoke to her and said, would you consider a lease option on this? She said, provided the numbers are okay and the legals are okay, yes, we would. And we got an option fee agreed at £1. Yeah. Mortgage would have been 87. Now we use OPM. Now most people think OPM is other people's money. It's not in lease options, it's other people's mortgages. The outstanding term on this property was 11 years on the mortgage. And that's what we got. Effectively, we've got a 5 years plus 5 years extension. And we bought it about 5, we actually bought it at 5 years, to be honest. That's the property now, that's a property today. So a disused bed and breakfast, suitable for HMO. Asking price 145, value 145. We did a 5 plus 5. We did an option consideration of £1. The monthly loan was 1,027. Refurbishment 11,500. I said we'd got no money. Yeah. The council actually gave us a grant of £25,000 to bring it back into use. because we were going to let it out to a charity and house homeless people. Legals were 1,600 that we paid out the grant. The cash flow, income, you'll see there. Costs, we do have a manager, which is the managing agent, which effectively is the charity that we pay. Stop working. Council tax is 0 because it's rented to leased to a charity. Commercial loan, told you. Monthly operating expenses might have increased a little bit, but the cash flow is £1,691 for an investment of £1. Ladies and gentlemen, anybody fancy that? Who would do that deal for £1 if it's going to cash flow £1,691? 5 elements of a lease option, guys. You need the option fee, the monthly payments, the term, the purchase price or the strike price, and your ability to negotiate. Yeah, you get all 5 things, all of those, and you will have yourself a lease option. Can we just do it on big properties? No. Value on this particular property, £75,000. Outstanding mortgage was 82. It was an old lady that had been moved into a council flat because she couldn't climb the stairs. She got mobility problems. And when the mortgage lender found out that she'd moved and she couldn't pay the mortgage, they were going to repossess her. Yeah, her arrears on that particular property was £2,754. The option fee, surprise, surprise, £2,754. Yeah, I put a term of 3 years on that, and basically the lady cried all the way through the conversation, and I cannot tell you how many people she has referred to me that has been in a similar situation to her. So lease options about helping people as much as it is about you increasing the size of your portfolio. And if you can help people, yeah, it is actually very, very easy to get over the line. And that is what you've got to bear in mind. It's got to be a win-win. So let me ask you a question. Chat box. I need to open the chat box again because I closed it for some reason. Right. Let me ask you a question. How many people here have got £12? If I said I've got the deal of the century for you, how many people have got £12 to invest? Yeah. Let's see how many people have got. Is there anybody that hasn't? Yeah. I can do you a nice angel investment loan of 12 quid if you want one. Okay. Right. So let's have a look at this. Now, this deal was negotiated via Zoom. I have never to this day met this guy, never met the landlord of this property portfolio that we picked up, or I picked up during the COVID lockdown. Okay, so we've got some properties. 12 properties in the portfolio. We've got a 4-bed house in Newcastle, 250,000. 3-bed house in Barnsley, 147. Flat in Darlington, 115. Flat in Warrington, 136. Flat in Liverpool, 175. Flat in Leeds, 165. Flat in Liverpool, 175. 2-bedroom house in Durham, 90k. Newcastle, 3-bedroom house, 110. And 4 flats in Durham worth £250,000 each. Yeah, so valued at over £1 million, those 4 flats. Yeah, and total value £2,188,000. That's the value. The outstanding mortgage, they were in negative equity. The outstanding mortgage was £2,300,000. The option fee was £12. The term is 11 or 13 years because half of them have got 11-year mortgages on them. half of them have got 13-year mortgages on them. And the annual rental income is 150, just short of 153,000. Just short of £153,000. Now, does anybody fancy doing that one? I've just got one yes. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, you woke up. I'm glad you fancy doing that one. Yeah. And if anybody sat there thinking, yeah, it's all right for him, or is this from a landlord? Yes, it was. Yeah. Yeah. So, so there we are. That's what we can do, guys. Anybody didn't believe me? That is the completion statement. Yeah. £12 and £8,100 worth of fees, legal fees. So that's lease options. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the last sort of almost an hour. It's gone so quickly. But if anybody is interested, that wants a one-to-one call or wants a copy of the book or both, just scan the QR code or log on to the bit.ly link there, and we will be more than happy to facilitate you. Gwilym.
Thank you so much, Barry, for that. I got lots of notes, and I usually come and share things at that time. Awesome. So yeah, any sort of one last word, Barry, whilst you're here, and then I'll wrap up.
And someone's just put in the chat box. Yeah, the scales are a little bit frightening on particularly on the last one. Yeah, I don't expect you to do one of those straight away. I mean, think about what you could source something like that for. I mean, it's absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Never say never, guys. Yeah, never say never.
Yeah, there was a lot of great questions, and I'm a bit I feel a bit bad that we don't go through them. So what we'll do is we'll try to book some time and put something in the go through those questions together and make it accessible. And in the meantime, do reach out to Barry and you connect and have a chat with him. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us today on the Deal Finder Corner. Visit propertyfilter.co.uk, log on to your Property Filter account, check out the deal blueprint, define your goldmine area, engage with motivated sellers, assess properties in seconds, load your pipeline and make deals, have an endless supply of deals. Lease options are great. Join the top 1% and become a high achiever deal finder. I hope you enjoyed today's Deal Finder Corner, and looking forward to seeing you tomorrow and next week. Thank you very much. Thank you, Barry. Thank you, and everybody.
Thank you, Gwilym. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day. Bye-bye. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.